My name is Dame Alara Atik. I am pleased to welcome you to this episode of St. George Online, the online platform we use to communicate to our membership worldwide. Typically, we have attendees from close to 10 different time zones around the world. So wherever you are, thank you for joining us today. We have a special program for you today as we feature for the first time the mission work of the Grand Priories of the Americas, Canada, USA, and UK. Now, I would like to introduce Robert Soderstrom, the Grand Prior of the Americas.
We appreciate everyone joining us today and are respectful of your time. It is our goal to keep the program length at no more than an hour and a half, if that. With those announcements out of the way, let us start. Our order thrives on the spirit of volunteerism and the collective efforts of our members worldwide. It is with great pride that we continue to uphold that aspect of our mission which focuses on the nurturing of young leaders through esteemed recognition programs serving the military cadets in the United Kingdom and Canada and the Eagle Scouts of the United States. These programs are not just about recognition. They're about promoting the building of character, discipline, and leadership skills of our youth who will shape our future. We are honored to have three esteemed presenters from our Canadian Grand Priory, U.S. Priory, and the U.K. Grand Priory joining us today to share their insights on how we are continuing to make a difference in the young individuals' lives. Before starting our presentations, we will now hear a few short comments from the leaders of our unified Grand Priories. For our new members, the English-speaking Grand Priories are unified under a leadership organization called the Magisterium. We are led by the UK Grand Prior, Stuart Northolt, who is the Magisterium Officium.
Hello. On behalf of the patrons and the Grand Magistracy, I would like to welcome you to the latest in our series of St. George online meetings, with the focus today on our youth engagement work. This is something we're very keen to develop as we seek to nurture the young leaders of today and tomorrow. This was always an important part of the work of the Knight, with knights of old educating and coaching their squires and pages in the ways of chivalry, and we're proud to follow in a modest way in that tradition today. Our order continues to grow worldwide, and as many of you will know, we recently, in Atlanta in February, signed a three-way memorandum of understanding between the Canadian Grand Priory, the Americas Grand Priory, and the UK Grand Priory. We're already seeing the fruits of this collaboration, and one area we are particularly keen to develop is our youth and education work. The three Grand Priories have slightly different approaches to our youth work, reflecting both their national structures and the state of play with their various organisations and programmes. So it's particularly valuable that we get together today with presentations from the UK, United States and Canada on programmes such as our military cadets work and our work with Scouts, such as our Eagle Scouts recognition programme in the United States. I hope everyone has an enjoyable and enlightening session of St. George Online.
It is indeed my honor as the Grand Prior of Canada to bring you greetings from the 437 knights and dames in Canada. Under the memorandum of understanding that we had signed back in February, I'm delighted to say that we have joined with our brothers and sisters from the Americas, the United States, the United Kingdom, and Europe in bringing key messages and our joint efforts of works to those who need our help. We are currently collaborating across all four of the entities on collaborating within committee structure on such things as Veterans Affairs, the UN delegation representation, humanitarian efforts, spirituality, hospitallers, and youth programs, which we are going to be discussing briefly today. In coming together under this Memorandum of Understanding, or MOU, we will ensure further collaborative efforts under our guiding principles of chivalric law in supporting our specific missions and purpose. We We are maintaining our history of service by the order, especially in these times when we need it the most. I look forward to today's discussions and our further working together on service. Thank you, Robert.
Thank you, Charles. So, Alara, if you will introduce our UK presenter.
Our third presentation will be from the Grand Priory of the UK on their Cadets program. Introducing their speaker will be the Magisterium Deputy and Grand Chancellor Mark Haley.
Hello and welcome. Speaker this afternoon on UK Affairs is Colonel Larry Davis, who is the lead on safeguarding for the order in the United Kingdom, and also a very qualified head teacher who runs a specialist company advising schools on how to best get the performance out of their teaching staff and pupils. He is also a Deputy Lord Lieutenant of Waltham Forest, that is the representative of the man or woman who represents the King or a member of the Royal Household who can't attend events in that particular area, but he is also the Lord Lieutenant of the City and Corporation of London. So that's what the DL stands there for and various other bits. He is a very capable organiser. He is our commander of the London Preceptory. He is also our Grand Sword Bearer. And I'm going to introduce him to talk about what he's done to incorporate into our activities in a two-way fashion, what we do for them and what they can do for us, youth programmes and cadet programmes. So over to you, Larry. Thank you very much.
Mark. You see, London Commandery inaugurated the 22nd of February 23. So we've been going roughly about 2 years, and we've got a programme very much of uniting and bringing young people on board within the order. And the reason, because their voice is extremely important, and that the order survives and thrives when we have young people within it. So our strategic objectives, as you can see, is to collaborate with all youth organisations. And I'll talk a little bit more about the youth organisations, those where we've made contact and have built relationships with. It's to raise awareness of the order and its positive approaches that it has for young people. And in the same situation with regards to bringing young people in, it's about building our Squires and Dames programme, as well as to seek out opportunities to enhance these positive outcomes for young people. And the picture which you can see in front of you is the it's the investiture of 2023, with the Corps of Drums, the young cadets from the Corps of Drums who have supported our investitures going forward. So it's a really good pride moment for these youngsters. There's one individual in particular that stands out next to our Grand Prior. Next slide, please. And he is Lance Corporal Meir. And Lance Corporal Meir, what makes this lad so special is quite simple. He joined the Corps of Drums not learning how to play any instrument whatsoever. And in the process of being part of that, he has developed into a fantastic drummer as well as flute player. But what stands him out is his peers have highlighted the fact that he devotes time to charitable causes, he's loyal and dedicated, and he's respected and admired across his unit. And that's what makes him special. And the individual who wrote him up wanted the highest award possible to give to this individual, Lance Corporal Meir. And as a result, he was given the Medal of Merit and presented the Medal of Merit. So working together helps basically these young people develop their confidence and skills as well as their own personal development. And we're proud to have Lance Corporal Meir as part of our London order and the UK order. Next slide, please. Within that picture, there was a lad standing to the right of him, to the left of him, and the lad was watching and observing everything that took place the investiture itself, the number of knights and grand crosses that went up to receive their jewels, the whole process of the event. And he was so impressed by the process that he then approached several people, and the Grand Cross included. And he said this, next slide, please. He said, I want to make a difference to young people. I want to make a difference to community. I want to meet new people. I want to build a sense of confidence and leadership and teamwork. I want to enhance my teamwork skills. I want that sense of purpose. I want to be fit and healthy. I want to have fun. And that's the bit which struck me. Young people want to enjoy what they're doing. They want to enjoy an organization where they can do all the things which he has said. And 2024, Lance Corporal Andreas was our second Medal of Merit holder. He whispered in my ear, I'm also a piano player, a really good piano player. And I thought, welcome on board. Because you know what? At our church, we have got a piano and we want to basically make better use of it. And how best to have a young person tinkering away at these ivory keys and basically playing music to his heart content. Now, I don't want to give these medals out like fruitcakes. These are important that they go to the right people. And not just to one organization, but we want to spread it across all organizations. And we'll see our plan, how that fits in a few minutes. Next slide, please. So there are 11 key organizations which are basically spread across London. These are the key ones with 130,000 odd young people being part of these organizations. And what we mustn't forget is the 26,000 adult volunteers that support these cadets in basically achieving their goal. Now, I can talk about each of these cadet units and each of these organizations, but that's not the point. The point is, it's about strengthening our relationships with these existing organizations and building relationships to a point whereby we could enhance not only their development, but also enhance the development of these organizations as well. And that's really important. Next slide, please. So when you look at these pictures, I say to you, what do you see? And the ambassadors, advocates, and connectors. And what do we mean by that? Well, Lance Corporal Mir and Andreas and any of the other cadets in these pictures could easily be our ambassadors for the order. Why? Because they have thrived and shown excellence in what they do, and we recognize that. And in the process of recognizing it, whether they get a certificate or whether they get a medal of merit, it is a recognition for that they've achieved something which is above and beyond what any of the other cadets achieve. And our advocates come from those individuals who support our events, who go on to turn around and discuss about what they've taken part in. And there are many of these individuals which are advocates. And then, as you can see, the range of different organizations, these are our connectors. And we must build relationships with our connectors in order to ensure that we encompass and bring on as many of these organizations and have as much diversity as possible. Next slide, please. So, when you ask young people, well, what is it that you want? They will talk about being inspired. They want the flexibility. They want to be able to learn new skills. They want to volunteer. And all of that is really important. They want some form of recognition and qualification. Well, we don't give them a qualification, but what we do give them is a certificate, and that certificate is framed, and that covers the aspects of what they do, which they can use on their CVs. They can go on to use on their references, because it is something which they have achieved and it belonged to them. And that's really important. Now, we've got individual organisations, which youth organisations, which we are proud of, having that connection. But what we now want to go on to do, next slide please, is to have an affiliation with a cadet unit. And our opportunity on the 6th of June to affiliate ourselves with one of the borough's cadet units. That we've got 32 boroughs across London, and not counting the city, is to affiliate a complete unit to our London Commandery. And that gives us, well, it does a lot. It builds the relationship that we have, and certainly with the Met Police, which are trying to strengthen their trust and confidence with young people, it puts us in a really nice position to help and assist the police to divert young people towards positive opportunities and to strengthen their understanding of the unit as well. Next slide, please. I'm glad to see that Ty's actually online watching this. So he's most probably smiling to see a picture of himself, which is fantastic, because he is one of our young squires. And our aim is that those people that we bring along as medal merit holders or bringing into our unit, or into our commandery, want to become squires and demoiselles and of course, and help shape the commandery and as such the order as to how we progress. And, you know, the future of the order is very much important about attracting young people who can hold these values of faith, charity and selflessness. And that's going to enable us to kind of like, answer their calling and to take our organisation further. So we've got a programme which we are progressively moving forward in building our youth expectations within the order. And it's supported, and I'm pleased to see that we are continuing on a journey which will help to make it a stronger UK youth organisation within the order as well. Next slide. So there's my presentation, and I'll take any questions. Thank you.
All right, Richard, you have the first question.
Thank you. A very brief question, a slightly longer one, but I'll keep it condensed. Larry, with regards to the Medal of Merit, are uniform cadets actually allowed to wear them on their uniform? Have we got sort of consent from the various MOD authorities to do that?
They are allowed to wear the Medal of Merit on their uniform, and it's very much their commandant's discussions as to whether that's allowed or not. So yes, it's allowed, and it's very much alongside their badges, which they are given, is part of a recognised badge for them to wear.
That's super. Forgive me for asking that. I received my appointment here to the order on Saturday, so I have my neck collar which arrived yesterday. So I'm new to the order. So forgive me if I'm asking a naive question. Okay. The other question I have is many years ago, and I'm going back 40 years. I used to run a squadron of air cadets in South Wales, and then further, and then again in Chatham in Kent and so on. But I left the cadet movement some time ago. But I found to my pleasure, in fact, that the local wing commander in Wales actually was a junior officer of mine all those years ago when I was running a squadron. So do you have any representation in Wales or any contacts with cadets? Because that is something I may be able to help out with I might have to ring them and they'll say, my word, I've not heard from you for 30 years, but at least there is some contacts there I could help pave the way.
Within the London Commandery, we spread ourselves across the 32 boroughs.
Right.
So, do we have representation for those air cadets? Yes, we have within London.
Right.
Going further outside London would take us out of our remit, but that doesn't stop the order from spreading our youth organisations far and wide.
Okay.
So at the moment, the London Commandery has focused very much on the 32 boroughs, but as quite turned around and said, youth cadets, youth organisations, and they're spread across the UK,
absolutely,
and Scotland and Wales, as well as Ireland as well. Yeah, and that's the plan. The plan would be, let's see where our connections go. It's not about turning around and saying, well, we're only focused here. It's how far can we connect? How far can we support? But I'm a great believer. If we're gonna spread ourselves out, we need to be able to go out and visit and play our part. And too far, that might be a bit. But the vision, let's be part of this connecting of organisations.
Yes.
I hope that answers your question.
It does, and I'm very grateful to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. When you get an opportunity, please lower your hand. Thank you. Any other questions for either Larry or any of our previous presenters?
If
Ron?
there are no further questions.
Well, Ron's got his hands up. Ron, you're on mute. If you want to just unmute.
There. Thank you very much for taking my question. I wondered if you could expand a little bit more on this idea of vision. I think I'm very clear on the mission and how things are operating, and sort of a sense of citizenship and one person at a time and giving them things they want. But is there a vision that you share with your colleagues, either implicit or explicit, of where you see things going in maybe a 5-year period? What would you like it to be 5 years from now?
Oh, thank you, Ron. That's a really good question. So what I would like to see is that we have the 11 organisations with 11 different young people who we're receiving citations for. Instead of us just focusing on one organisation, that we could look at it across the board and select one individual from these 11 different organisations, the numerous citations, and highlight one person from that every year who receives our Medal of Merit. Now, that doesn't mean those other individuals who've been put forward don't receive anything. They will receive some type of recognition and whatever, but this is where we feel it's important that they receive, whether a certificate or whether or not it's something which is more enhanced to indicate that they've been put forward at the, unfortunately at age, they weren't the number one. Because we want that. We want is to dilute what these Medal of Merits mean, but to recognise these individuals. And by not diluting it, we'll have more individuals wanting to gain it. Our outreach of these organisations would be seen as, well, they are, they want to ensure that the standards are high, and therefore these individuals, which we hope to bring on board because they see what we do, they enjoy the process, they can see what it can lead to if they want to go from being just a part of the organisation to one of our Squire programs or Demoiselle programs. There is an opportunity there. So there's the big, this entirety with regards to bringing people on and our youth organisation within the order. And that's really important for me. I hope that answers your question, Rob.
Yes, thank you very much. That's a wonderful answer and a wonderful vision. And I'm sure with your commitment to this that you're going to get there. And it's so important that we fulfill these challenges and opportunities that are out there. And I think this is just a wonderful program. So thank you very much for explaining that and sharing that with me.
Thank you. Dennis?
Hi, Larry. How are you? All right? All it is, obviously, I'm very involved with Royal St George as well, and I'm the youth lead for them. And one of the links that we've got with all of our branches, if you like, is trying to encourage them to be part and parcel of linking in the various cadet groups in their areas, so that it helps them and the cadets and so on. And I suppose all I'm saying is that from my point of view, and talking about St George, to expand what you're doing further along around the country is going to be the ultimate aim, of course.
Absolutely.
And if I can be of some help in doing that, well, of course I will. But I'm more southwest, I suppose. So, hey, just saying that as an offer, really.
And that's brilliant, because already David has spoken about, cadets and so forth. So where we could do the connecting, I think that's really important. And I suppose this is a discussion maybe offline, but I feel that the whole youth program can open and will provide the order, certainly within UK, with some good value. So I will grab your details if I can as well.
By all means, please do. Thank you.
I would say that I've placed in the order my details. I missed out the L for London. I've corrected it now, so those people who obviously need to just touch base with me, please do that.
Hello, I am Kurt Orcutt, Prior of the United States for the Order of St. George, and I am honored to introduce Jim Jones, who leads our Boy Scouts and Scouting of America Eagle Scout program. It is my honor to introduce Jim Jones.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be with you today. Back in 2019, during our grand investiture in Atlanta, several of the old Boy Scouts got together, some of them having in excess of 50-year association with the organization, and we discussed the integration of youth programs in Great Britain and in the United States, keeping in mind that Lord Baden-Powell, describing his goal for youth in forming the Boy Scouts back in the early 1900s, deemed St. George as the patron saint of scouting. Now, those of you who really are not familiar with Eagles, let me just give you a brief rundown as to what it entails for the 2% of those youth who go into Boy Scouts to achieve an Eagle. So an Eagle Scout is a young man or woman who has shown leadership in positions within the Scout troop, planned and executed all aspects of his or her Eagle project, has passed an extensive examination by the Eagle Board of Review, and completed all requirements for supportive advancement before his or her 18th birthday, while facing the typical pressures faced by teens today, such as athletics, family responsibility, possibly a part-time job, and of course, dating. The requirements are broad-based in that an individual must obtain 21 merit badges, 14 of which are required and are aimed at life skills, such as citizenship, family life, first aid, etc. A group got together and formed a committee which developed a program and a charter for the guidance of that program, which was going to be to recognize the achievement of young men and women who obtain the rank of Eagle Scout and the Boy Scouts, and also to create an increased awareness of the Order of St. George, its purpose and achievements in the United States, and of course, to be the basis of some future recruitment tool, hopefully. The Scouting Committee was formed in May of 2021. It initially involved 25 volunteers who came forward with an interest in scouting. Of those 25, 9 are what we call presenters who actually attend courts of honor. And currently we are participating in courts of honor in 32 states, plus what we call the council, which includes Zimbabwe and Africa, which I might add has now 2 Eagle Scouts, brother and sister, as siblings and as children of members of the diplomatic corps. 18 states where we have no participation at this point, and including in that is the Far Eastern Council and the National Capital Area Council, which includes expatriate scouts in South America. Where we have no members, we have developed what I like to call our proxy presenters. These are individuals who are executives in the Scout Troop or the Council who volunteer to present our awards to the individual Eagle Scout at their court of honor. To date, these proxy presenters have presented more than 200 courts of honor. Our dames and knights have conducted almost 50 courts of honor presentations. One of the reasons why it's important to have presentations presented is that on any given day, you can find dozens of websites where you can solicit letters of recommendation, letters of congratulations to be sent to individuals. We want ours to be more special. We don't want ours to be put into an album to be put on the shelf. That's why we make every effort to have our award personally presented to the recipient of the Eagle Scout. Chet Striplin is one of our busiest presenters, and I've asked him to join us today to describe his experience at a typical court of honor. So I'd like to present Chet.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's my pleasure to be here and to represent the Order of St. George here in the Americas. And I am a presenter, and I've worked closely with Jim on presenting quite a few Eagle Scout awards, okay? And I've also presented to some young females who also made Eagle Scout. As we're aware of now, both men and young women can become Eagle Scouts. As Jim said, only approximately, and the latest numbers come out about maybe 6% of all Scouts become Eagle Scouts, and some maybe 2 million since 1912. Those aren't like phenomenal numbers, but when you think of what it takes to become an Eagle Scout, those are pretty good numbers, and I believe those numbers are starting to rise. When you have a court of honor, there are 6 steps to that court of honor. You need to set up a venue, means a date and a time. You need invitations. You need to develop a program and script, gather props and supplies, plan the reception, and rehearse the ceremony. You need to invite your family, your friends, dignitaries, and clergy. The courts of honor that I've gone to approximately take anywhere from an hour and a half to 2 hours, depending on how many dignitaries and how many people are there who are going to speak at this particular court of honor. I just did recently in Bayside, which was very, very nice. Young man Jan, his family came from France and came to America, and he became an Eagle Scout. Extremely, extremely intelligent young man. Absolutely dedicated. Had more than his share of merit badges, more than he would even have to go for. My personal experience with the many young men and women I have had the experience to share with them and their families the road to Eagle Scout recognition has been a great personal journey for me. I have learned a tremendous amount. I have learned how important this program is to all of us knights and dames in our Order of St. George. I truly feel we are able to touch so many people, young and old, and from all nationalities and walks of life, bringing the message that we promote and pursue the timeless traditions of chivalry by compassion and supporting works of charity. I think of the chap from Matthew, and I quote, "For many are called, but few are chosen." Certainly this parallels the lifelong commitment of an Eagle Scout. We must choose to do as members of the order to do the same. Us carrying on this particular way of presenting these awards, and our awards are special. Let me tell you something. At many of these courts of honor, you have congressmen, you have representatives of the Senate, you have religious clergy, you have different dignitaries from the community, okay, and other maybe organizations. Our certificates are unique. I also frame them, okay, in a nice frame and present them. And then I finally present the patch to them. I should have had one in front of me. I'm sorry I didn't bring it, but I'll get one. And I have found out that I also make a presentation about the Order of St. George. I explain to everybody there who we are. What do we do throughout the world? And I know that means a lot. It's a great impact. And it gives us an opportunity to tell everybody who we are. What are we about? What do we do? And why do we do it? So I think the fact that we continue with this program is very, very essential. One quick note that in order for you to be a scout, just a Boy Scout, never mind an Eagle Scout, you have to be trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. Just to start out to the road to Eagle. So it's very, very important that we understand that these young men and women are certainly candidates for us in the Order of St. George because they hold so much just starting from that particular point of becoming an Eagle Scout. And as I tell them at their particular court of honor, this is only the first step. It's only the cornerstone. You would take this with you for the rest of your lives. And there's a formula that I believe in. If it says Eagle Scout equals greatest success in life, I truly believe that. So I believe that my message today is that we must continue what we're doing because it's working. And it certainly is telling me that there's a lot of hope in this world where sometimes we don't think there's a lot of hope. So I would like to know that I will continue with this, working with Jim, who's done a great job, put a great outline together about our order when I'm there to tell people about us. And I'll continue doing everything I can to make this 100% what we want it to be. And I thank you all today, and God bless all of you. And God bless all our veterans for this weekend.
Thank you very much, Chet. And I just want to say a little bit about Chet while I was speaking. Chet is the preceptory leader of our Northeast region. He's also deputy chairman of the Eagle Scout Committee. And I think you can appreciate why we call on him to be one of our keynote presenters. Chet goes into this whole heart, and he's a very effective ambassador for the program. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Court of honor, we hear time and time again, once an Eagle, always an Eagle. Is this true? We're going to call right now on an individual who received his Eagle Scout a while ago and is in mid-career in the professions. And we're going to ask him that question and ask him to answer with the subtle benefits of the Eagle. Dr. Jones, it's all yours.
Thank you, Jim, or shall I say Dad. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. As a little bit of background, my name is in fact Paul Jones. I have a PhD in organic chemistry and am currently Director of New Ingredient Discovery for International Flavors and Fragrances. In the early 1990s, I earned the rank of Eagle Scout from Troop 1 Louisboro, a small town in New York. My project involved the planning, fundraising, construction, and installation of about a baker's dozen benches around a local pond. And it's a legacy that still serves the community decades later today. After my ceremony was completed and the celebratory dinner was finished, the cards and gifts had been opened, life returned to what many high school seniors experience: proms, finals, graduation, and college. The Eagle Scout I had earned became a silent statue on my bookshelf and a small pewter pin stuck in the dashboard of my car. At the time, I had been told that being an Eagle would open doors. It would be a statement of character, be a unique line on my resume. All of that is true, but not in the way that an 18-year-old me imagined it. As I look back, the Eagle Scout is one stone in a series of stones that makes up the ever-growing foundation of my life. But its importance is not to be minimized. It is, in fact, a key part of who I am, and not something whose benefit is flaunted or waved around like a banner. It is much more subtle. I've been asked on job interviews about my project, the struggles, the lessons learned. Did the Eagle get me the job? I have no idea. But I do know that when I interview prospective employees in my current role, the Eagle is a differentiator and something to ask about. I met many people in my life who are also Eagles. It does not guarantee instant friendship, I can tell you. But it does show a common thread or shared experience that connects certain people. And the world needs more connections than ever. Most importantly for me, though, in times of severe doubt, when I feel overwhelmed and incapable, I will think back to standing in my driveway, cutting 4x4 pressure-treated posts by hand, also people that I don't know can sit on a bench and experience a little peace. I'll tell myself that if a teenager can do that, then someone pushing 50 can just get back up and head back into the arena. And yes, 32 years later, my pin is still in the dashboard of my car. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. And I can remember helping you cut those 4x4 pressure treated along with your entire team of willing scouts.
The scars don't go away from doing that, but it was good.
Thank you for your presentation. The mother came forward after one of the courts of honor and said to me, and I'm just going to paraphrase her comments. She said after her daughter received her Eagle Scout, I wanted to surprise her with all of the letters and congratulations. But you tell an Eagle Scout that the rank is so important, but they still kind of in a way don't understand the importance because they're still very young. But the letters that are what means so much to them. It's not just family and friends supporting them and congratulating them, but it's people like the Order of St. George who take the time and effort to present an award, but to personally congratulate the individual. That is what will stick with her for the rest of her life. And I thank you, Michelle, for those comments because that's why we do it. Okay, Chet talked about the award. Well, here's an example. The certificate, as we like to say, is a certificate suitable for framing. It's created in-house. It costs basically nothing to produce. The patch is commercially made. It can go on the Scout's uniform as a temporary award. There's a special place on the uniform for that. Or it can be sewn onto a piece of Scout's clothing. Chet indicated that if there's any award at a court of honor is important. Here's Chet doing a one-on-one. It can be a group of Scouts from the same troop. Here's some boys from Georgia area. Finally, it can be a whole class of Scouts from troops and councils. Here's a group that we presented to from Huntington Beach, California. What do we have on the drawing board? What is our goal for the future? We want to continue, of course, our troop involvement. Will we be sponsoring a unit? Very possibly. We might form a unit, Scout troop from scratch, or we might adopt one of the orphan troops that we find today because of their sponsors being removed for political reasons. We want to look into developing a Scout scholarship. The Girl Scouts have approached us in having a gold recognition award, which, by the way, 2 weeks ago, we presented 2 of our initial gold awards to 2 young ladies in the Girl Scouts. The period of time between 18 and 21, 18 when the boys and girls no longer really actively participate, to 21 when they're eligible to join the Order of St. George, is a period of time when they're in transition. We would like to be able to fill that transitional period with some sort of a squire program. We will probably rely heavily on our Canadian and UK groups for assistance in that area. Next slide. Outstanding Cadet Award. You'll hear from our brothers and sisters in Canada concerning their program. Here in the United States, we have the Junior ROTC program and the ROTC program in colleges and universities. We will look at an Outstanding Cadet Award for those organizations. We've been asked to look at a Community Award of Merit program. Well, I'm pleased to announce that the Order of St. George has been given the administrative responsibility for the Presidential White House Volunteerism Award. And as such, we will be presenting this to those individuals, not necessarily a Scout, but those individuals who have distinguished themselves in the area of volunteerism. Further information, I'm here. There's my email. And the Order of St. George is here as well.
If there are no further questions, our another presentation will be from the Grand Priory of Canada on their Cadets program. The Grand Prior, Charles Hill, will provide the introduction.
Thank you, Laura. Greetings all again. Before we start, I start with introducing Chevalier Jean Kirshner to talk about our program with the cadets in Canada. I wanted to share with you an event that just happened last week. It happened this past Monday. We got involved with our cadets and also other youth groups, whether they were from college, universities, or even just children of members, knights and dames of the order. It was the NATO's 75th anniversary, and NATO had coordinated with its partners a NATO Youth Summit called Shaping for Tomorrow. And it was sponsored by NATO, their partners, our relationship with the Veterans Channel and our own organization of the Order of St. George. What happened was it was a day event. 35 young adults from local colleges, cadets, order families came together and participated in a workshop facilitated by mentors from police services, security professionals, professors from the college and universities to talk about and have a workshop on the young adults' views on things such as diversity, democracy, peace initiatives, and a number of other topics that they wanted to talk about that were near and dear to what they saw in the future. This was a 6-hour long workshop that was facilitated by the people I mentioned, police services and colleges and universities, to bring them together to voice their opinions on these topics and look to the youth. And these were all ages 18 to 20, and bring them to stepping forward to be heard. And it was quite interesting talking to them afterwards that they've never been involved in a situation like that, particularly with an organization such as NATO, to actually present and talk about their views of the future. Part of the reason for Jim's presentation on Scouts and ours on Cadets and the UK's on Cadets as well, this is for the Order, our succession plan. This is our future. These young people coming together and talking about what the next generation is going to be looking at and how they want to see things being done. So it was a great success. As a matter of fact, was so successful that we will probably do this on an annual basis with NATO sponsorship, and they will then take the information that they have and share it within the NATO countries to look at what the youth are looking for. Great success. So I wanted to share that with you because this will be available to all of us in the future to participate in across all of the 4 or 5 organizations that we have now within the Order of St. George. So I wanted to share that with you before I have the pleasure of introducing Chevalier Gene Kirshner. So with that, I'll move into the introduction. Gene Kirshner is a Knight commander within the Order of St. George. Gene has pretty extensive involvement with the cadets in Canada. He is our representative for the cadets across Canada, and he'll tell you more about that. Gene is also the prior of Alberta, our province, and the prairies in Canada, and is also the chair of the priors committee that review our programs and look at driving fundraising activities and identifying programs that we wish to provide service to those topics and those programs that we want to support. So without further ado, it is my honor to introduce Chevalier Gene Kirshner to tell you more about the cadets in Canada. Thank you. Gene?
So as introduced, my name is Gene Kirshner, and in addition to being a Knight and a prior here in Canada, I'm also currently serving member with the Canadian Armed Forces Reserves with the Cadet Instructors Cadre branch. This is the branch of about 5,000 to 6,000 officers nationally that look after and administer the training of the cadets that would be the Sea, Army, and Air Cadets that we have here in the country. There's approximately 50,000 to 60,000 12 to 18-year-olds that make up this program in our country. In addition to the Sea, Army, and Air Cadets, our formation headquarters also does look after the Canadian Junior Ranger program. And the Junior Rangers are a sub-branch of the Canadian Rangers, which is run by the Canadian Army. I've been an officer in the program now for, I just clicked over 25 years this year. I've been a commanding officer of 3 different Air Cadet squadrons in the country. I've done a number of summer postings at summer training centers and things like that. It's my pleasure to introduce you all to the Canadian Cadet program, which is one of the strategic aims of the Order in Canada. I'm going to start off by showing you 3 short little video clips. Each video clip highlights and demonstrates one one of the three elements of the order. My sincere apologies that the junior ranger stuff is more difficult for me to get because the junior rangers are actually in remote communities in Canada. So I'll talk a little more about that in a little bit. So hopefully you'll enjoy these short little promotional video clips, give you a flair for what the Cadet program has, different things that it can do. There was a short promotional video that was done by my Air Cadet Squadron, so it's the nearest and dearest. So here is now something from our Sea Cadets. That kind of gives you a promotional video flair for how the cadets work in Canada. So now to the nitty gritty. The aims of the cadet program in Canada are to teach attributes of good leadership, cadets and attributes of good citizenship, promote physical fitness and healthy living. Then we stimulate an interest in the Canadian Armed Forces. So the cadets are not members. And what we do is we try and stimulate interest in the particular brand, Air Cadets to the Air Force, Army Cadets to the Army. However, that's that challenge in some of our communities, as Canada doesn't have all three elements of our Canadian Armed Forces stationed in every municipality. So we still will try our best to do something called Canadian Armed Forces familiarization. Here in Calgary, we have the Navy and the Army, not the Air Force. So we try and at least expose the cadets to the Reserve Force and the regular force as best we can. And most importantly, we do all of this, and the goal is still to have fun while we're at it. They are 18-year-olds, so we all want to have a good time. The Cadet program nationally is a partnership between the Department of National Defense and three civilian leagues. So the Army League, the Navy Cadet League, the Army Cadet League, and the Air Cadet League. And there's a memorandum of understanding that binds the four organizations together, and it outlines essentially what responsibility of every party in the organization is. So from the military side, you provide the officers, the supervision, the mandatory training, and the leagues provide through the sponsoring committees and various things like that, they provide some support mechanisms, right? So a roof over the house, roof over the head of the units and things like that. But what is this program really? It's one of Canada's finest youth programs that's essentially zero cost to the children. It's a place for youth, all walks of life, to find purpose, to make lifelong relationships, to become leaders, really to find themselves and take valuable skills into the working world. Teaches them a sense of pride, esprit de corps, professionalism, teamwork, and the ability to speak in front of others and the values of community service. And we really promote the ideals of service before self. I had a bunch of boring slides initially, and I figured, you know what, I would turn the tables into some fun pictures of our cadets out in the wild. So the Sea Cadet program, their history and heritage from the Royal Canadian Navy, which recently just celebrated their 100th anniversary. Obviously, their focus is around nautical themes. So many Sea Cadet units have regular force or primary reserve affiliated units that they can visit and share their history with. Some of these cadets are very fortunate enough to go to our two big coastal bases in Victoria and Halifax and take part in sails on board His Majesty's Canadian ships, or in any body of water they can find near to their locale, and they take part in our sailing program. The photo on the left is it's an Orca class training vessel that the cadets can do sails with. And then the photo on the right is the cadets partake in a broad sailing program, and they compete all the way up to provincial and national regattas within the program. So here we have some photos of the cadets from 335 Royal Canadian Sea Cadet Corps Calgary, and visiting their affiliated ship, which is HMCS Calgary, which is Halifax class patrol frigate out of Victoria. They have a very strong relationship between the two units. Even through COVID, the ship would zoom in to the cadets on their parade night and tell them all about what the rules of the Navy are and what they do and all those sorts of things. So very fortunate to have that tight, close bond. Army cadets. So obviously they derive their traditions from the Canadian Army. Now, we don't have one generic army. Obviously, we have many regiments, both regular and reserve force. So they will draw an affiliation to one of those regular force or reserve regiments. From that, they will draw that history from that regiment. And they will also incorporate history and traditions and the accoutrements of that regiment into the cadet unit itself. Army cadets largely are adventure training. So they do things like mountain biking, rock climbing, abseiling, rappelling, canoeing. And some of the cadets are even fortunate enough in the summertime to go on the regular force basic course to earn their parachute, and those wings will carry through with them all their life if they go into the military, and they'll be able to wear those wings as a qualification. And you'll see here some more photos. In Calgary here, we have the Calgary Stampede. The cadets take part in a lot of that. It's very much like a fair of sorts. So the cadets will take part in various things. They engage in fundraising activities. So you can see the photo in the upper right is a no sleepathon. And then you can see that they get to throw themselves off some buildings here with some strong adult supervision. So Air Cadet program. So the thing that I've been involved with the last 25 years. Obviously, we generate our everything we do from the Royal Canadian Air Force, which incidentally turned 100 years not a month or so ago. And so we do everything aeronautical. So we're teaching the cadets principles of flight, aircrew survival, navigation, both ground and in the air, meteorology. Cadets that happen to excel in their training at the local headquarters level can earn themselves an opportunity to earn their glider pilot or power pilot license in the summertime. And you can see here, cadets take part in community service. So that was my old cadet unit when we raised, I think it was about 15,000 pounds of food for the Calgary Food Bank. We visited Boeing plant in Seattle. We toured a local police helicopter unit. And the big fire truck there, we were at CFB Comox on Vancouver Island doing some Canadian Armed Forces familiarization at the wing. And I want to sum up all of the cadet stuff to our common program. So we do have some common training, and the common training, the three big things are music program, our marksmanship program, and we participate in the Olympic sport of biathlon. The music program within the cadets is simply amazing. These young men and women come from all walks of life. We provide them instruments, we give them training, we put them together, and they can produce some of the most beautiful music, both listen, reed, and pipes and drums. One of my most memory was when we created a mass band here in Calgary, and we had over 100 Air Cadets playing music at our Remembrance Day service before 2019, just before the pandemic. And people still remember that to this day. The music that came out of those cadets was simply divine. The marksmanship program starts at the local unit level, goes all the way up through to a national level competition. We use air rifles for this program. In fact, now at the national level, we've started utilizing something called the CS target system, which is this really cool system that automatically scores the targets for them. It's a worldwide type system that they use, so it's pretty cool. And lastly, the biathlon program, so the sports of skiing and shooting. And so we teach them, and some of these cadets get so good. I've had a cadet go on to the junior national team, and we've had cadets actually advance on to the Olympics itself. So it's a fantastic sport for the cadets. We talk about community service, right? And we talk about elements of good citizenship, right? So we instill the virtues of community service. And there's so many ways the cadets give back to the community. These are just some light examples, right? From participating with our Royal Canadian Legion in the sale of poppies, to attending Remembrance Day services, doing cemetery cleanups, bank drives, highway cleanups. The possible list of community service that our cadets do is really endless. One of my most favorite memories here in Calgary was when our cadet unit would participate. Here we have West Colonel Belcher Veterans Home. So it's an old age home for veterans that are not capable of taking care of home anymore. And we've gone there with our band, with our choir to perform at Christmas time and things like that. And one of the biggest memories I have is when our air cadets went there, plant trees under the eyes of the Queen's Green Canopy Initiative for the Queen's Platinum Jubilee. And the cadets planted 25 lilac trees around the grounds, and the dedication was done by our Lieutenant Governor, which is our Vice Regal representative in Alberta. It's a very important aspect to the program as a whole, and we wanted a safe place for cadets for these kids to come from all across the country and from all of their communities. And so we embrace diversity. We embrace being different. And it's so important that these kids have this place to go where they can feel like themselves. Junior Canadian Rangers program it's a challenging and rewarding program for those youth in remote communities across Canada. They integrate practical skills and cultural practices. Many of the Junior Canadian Rangers patrol groups are either closely knit with or around First Nations or Indigenous communities. Every patrol training is unique because the program can be customized to each of the communities. So in general, the program has 3 basic circles of training: ranger skills, life skills, and traditional skills. So the ranger skills are those modeled after the training received by their adult counterparts, the Canadian Rangers. These skills to do with things like teamwork, leadership, surviving in the wilderness, helping people in emergency situations. Traditional skills are those chosen based on the culture and history of the area, the talents and the experience that the community volunteers bring to that program. And lastly, life skills focus on helping the Junior Canadian Rangers strengthen their personal resilience, develop healthy lifestyle habits, make positive choices, and become independent young adults. So, the Order of St. George, here at the Grand Prairie in Canada, the cadet program is one of our strategic aims where we provide support. So one of our first large engagements with the cadet program was the Order of St. George Medal for staff cadets. So in 2016, a gap was identified in recognizing outstanding staff cadets at summer training centers. So in the summertime, July and August, we stand up basically mini Canadian Armed Forces bases that are called Summer Cadet Training Centers, CTCs. And these CTCs are from coast to coast to coast. Furthest north one is up in Whitehorse, Yukon. And we send officers there and non-commissioned members to help, and then they go on summer training. And so we know that there's not enough officers to help run the program, so we employ 16 and plus cadets. When they go and they take on roles in platoon commander roles and all of these things. So there was never a mechanism to really showcase and highlight their amazing abilities. These kids can go out there and work 10, 12 hours a day and really showcase what it means to be leaders. So working together with our the formation headquarters, we came up with this medal. And every summer training center, it's a percentage of these cadets to receive these medals. Members of the order across Canada attend graduation parades in the summertime to present the medals. So on the left, you'll see the actual medal itself that's presented. And there's a photo of me presenting a medal to a very deserving young man here in Calgary a couple summers ago. And these cadets, they wear these medals with extreme pride, and it really means a lot to them to receive this type of recognition. Another initiative that we're currently working on with our formation headquarters is obtaining permission to create an Order of St. George commendation. And so there are 1,111 cadets and Canadian Ranger units across the country. And to really get the cadet program out down there, all of the communities, all of locales, we've proposed one commendation would be provided to each unit across the country. So this is still something that's in play, and currently the proposals with our deputy formation commander. What would look like, hopefully, if all goes well. And we're always looking for additional support opportunities. Challenge obviously is the cadet program is government, so we always have to be careful about how we interface with all of that. But we're always keeping the lines of communication open to see how we can participate and provide support.
Thank you, Gene. We appreciate that.
I just want to support you in your comments, because what you heard from Gene is that probably for every ours is a meritorious, and it's on the chivalric values that are displayed by the CICs in their summer camps. And so, that we're talking about the commendation pin. It is very specifically generated around faith, service, and honor. So it's the same program, okay? And in our case, both the medal and the commendation pins will be sanctioned. The medals already are. The pins were almost there. Are sanctioned by the DND, Department of National Defense. So they actually wear it on their uniform, whether that's the pin or the medal. So, but I want to highlight here is the commonality of the programs on the youth programs that we have. I mean, this is the reason why, we together as organizations across the because we have like programs and we have the same desires to do this. And the youth programs are a classic example of how closely knit we are and what we're trying to do. So again, from a perspective, we are very much linked into what the UK are trying to do as well. So I think that's a very positive experience.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you for everyone. Alara, if you would continue.
If there are no further questions, we have a few announcements to share. I invite Magisterium Deputy Mark Haley address us.
Good afternoon. Someone be with us, our Magisterium Officium. He's on his first holiday in 4 years. Simon McElwain spent the week on the Belgium International March Kirk, which he passed, so he's got his medal for that from the Belgian Army. He's rather pleased. So you've got me instead. As you're aware, we're coming up our septencentenary, this year of celebration of the founding of the Order of St. George. And we're on a tour between the United States, the United Kingdom, and Hungary. That will involve a planned trip out, as it were, that people can opt in and opt out of different times and events. There will be an investiture in London. There will be events in London. There will be events in Hungary, and there will be an opportunity to sightsee. Now, I know, unlike us Brits and Europeans who seem to get months off, when I was used to get 7.5 weeks annual leave, somehow I doubt that all Americans fit in that mold. So it is designed and will be designed to be able to be fit into most people's schedules. It'll be 2 weekends rather than 3 weeks. That week we're going to look forward to put out more details about that and what's going on and what are the suggested sites and visits. We are also have Friday going to look at what's happening for D-Day events in the United Kingdom, because we understand that there are a number of Canadians coming over, and we will get back to you on that. You're all aware that we signed the understanding between the United Kingdom, the United States, and Canada. At our recent investiture in London, we had a large delegation from Hungary, I think 8 or 9 people, and they are keen to that memorandum. So we will progress with that. And if they do that memorandum, which is almost certain, I would have thought that they would want to do so because they've asked to do so, that would introduce a lot of Northern European and European commanderies into the mix. Not necessarily huge numbers, but an additional spread across Europe, as it were. The Canadian Medallion and Commemorative Scotch Whisky programme will be coming out. I'm not so keen on medallions. I've got quite a few of them, but whiskey is something else, so you'll get my vote on that one. So that will be another fundraising and celebratory alignment with the 700th, no doubt. It's producing a lapel pin, and to the same design, the United States are going to have a medal set done. So there's going to be some celebratory material for purchase and treasure. As you efforts, this call around youth activities, but we also centre around other activities, and in particular we have over the last few years concentrated on some of the joint efforts to combat female abuse and poverty via our Tanzanian Girls' School Scholarship. We've raised donations close to £10,000 from all 3 of the Grand Priories to assist with that. It's been very successful. A lot of young ladies have graduated from that, got employment, and spread the word that we're literally oversubscribed, people wanting to join it. But it teaches skills, it teaches the kind of confidence that is required, allows people to become dependent upon men for their future. We commend that to you, and we'd love to be involved in that, and everybody who has donated time, money, and effort into that. Since the outbreak of the Ukrainian war, both the United Kingdom and the Americas have provided humanitarian and medical supplies into the Ukraine. Huge amount of equipment and logistically a very difficult task. We say over £5 million worth of goods and services. It's probably way more than that. We had a fundraising dinner in London, raised 50,000, and we had it from one of our members who was brought into the order at a recent investiture of something like £60,000 to £75,000 worth of very specialist medical aid that was shipped out to the Ukraine just after Christmas. We've also run children's gifting for Christmas, for Easter and things like that, as well as Robert is organising a PTSD programme to support children have been affected by this horrendous war. Joint venture channel is being proposed to showcase all 3 Grand Priories' effort on our veterans. We all, in various different ways, honour our veterans. In the United Kingdom, I can speak to the fact that we have an affiliated regiment, the 3rd Battalion Princess of Wales Royal Regiment. We are involved, as you've seen, with the youth cadet work. We also support the Royal Hospital at Chelsea, which is the retirement home for service personnel from the Army who are non-commissioned officers. And it bizarrely managed, well, it's not bizarrely, it's because they're well looked at. It adds 8 years to the average lifespan of an ex-soldier. That's just phenomenal. During COVID, they had virtually no deaths because they managed it so much better than the rest of the country. They even had the Army taking their staff in on a one-to-one basis, so they didn't have to use public transport, so they didn't spread germs into the hospital. So they had a very low mortality rate, much lower than the background population, really well organised. The first programme that we're going to be discussing at our Veterans Aid will be in July, and this will showcase Canada's contribution to the repatriation of the remains of the fallen soldier. This is going to be hosted by our Canadian patron, General Rick Hilliard. He is a retired Chief of Defence Chief of the Defence Staff, with an overview and interview by Robert Caseda, who leads the UN Command. The Canadian has proposed that the unknown World War I soldier from the Royal Newfoundland Regiment, who died in the Battle of the Somme, to be recognised as an honorary member of the order. And if accepted, his regalia will be housed in the Regimental Museum. And I think that's a wonderful idea. The USA is now, as already been mentioned, a certified organization to honor US community volunteers with the Presidential Volunteer Service Award. Well done, guys. That is terrific. And a registry of arms for those who have them, or are lucky to be armigerous, is going to be compiled. That will be done by Dr. Lewis and Ian Steisinger, and will allow those of you who have any trees, baronetcies, earlddoms, perhaps no, not me, to register their arms order. So those are the main ones. As I said, very much for joining us today, and I'm going to hand back to Robert for final words. Robert.
Thank you, Mark. In conclusion, I would like to thank all of those involved in organizing today's program and compliment our wonderful speakers. We hope you found the information about our esteemed order to be enlightening and inspiring. The work we do is truly remarkable. We come together from all corners of the world to uphold our noble mission and our guiding principles. Our order is a beacon of camaraderie, service, and dedication with members who selflessly volunteer their time and talents to make meaningful differences. If you feel called to be more involved, we warmly invite you to reach out to your local Grand Prairie representatives. There you will discover an array of volunteers. No contribution is too small, as each person who joins our ranks strengthens the collective impact we have on our communities and the world at large. We welcome you to become an integral part of this grand legacy, to carry on the torch that has been passed down through generations. By lending your voice and your hands, you will help ensure the longevity and continued flourishing of our cherished order, empowering us to achieve even greater feats of benevolence and unity. We eagerly await the chance to welcome you to work alongside in service of our noble cause. In the chat section, you will find links to each of the Grand Prairies and information on our social media presence. We thank you all for attending. Have a blessed weekend, and we hope to see you at our next program.
Thank you to everyone for attending. We hope you found the information inspiring. You can take pride in our order's accomplishments. Our next program will be this summer. Look for more announcements to come on topic, date, and time. Have a good weekend. Goodbye.